So you're going to decide which ones this course addresses. Then you just need to list your program, student learning outcomes, so they're in the course outline. So anybody reading that course outline also knows the program learning outcomes. Those should be the same for all program courses. They should not be different. Okay? So all business course outlines have the same program learning outcomes. All HCOM courses have the same program learning outcomes. Okay, what's different then is your course student learning outcomes, what the student's going to be able to do in this course when they finish this course. Okay, so you have specific learning outcomes, or general learning outcomes, and then specific learning outcomes. So your general goes here, because you may have only 2, 3, or 4, I don't know how many general learning outcomes for the course, but you'll have more specific learning outcomes for each course. So you write the learning outcome. You say which ISLO that addresses, which program learning outcome it addresses, and then your assessment strategy for that learning outcome. The assessment strategy has to match what you're saying in the learning outcome. So if you use a verb like demonstrate in your learning outcome, then the assessment strategy has to give the student an opportunity to demonstrate what it is you're expecting them to learn. If it says illustrate, then they have to do an illustration. If they have to describe, then they have to describe something. If they have to explain, then they have to explain something.
Yeah, I just want to add on that for assessment strategies in the past, a lot of people have been putting down just the methods or the tools, or what do you call it? The types, sorry. Test, quiz, essay, instead of describing the strategies used. And that's what we need to stress on that. And what Karen said, it has to match the student learning outcome. Rather than just say, oh, okay, we're assessing the student, a strategy is a quiz. Is that a strategy? And that's how it's been. That's how the majority of our course outlines are described as.
Does anybody want to add to that who sits on curriculum committee? Because you're the ones who've been looking at these outlines. Okay, so like Cassiano was pointing out, it depends on the course and how you're teaching. He referred to one of the CTEC courses that maybe you can explain how a generator works, but if you went to repair that generator and it still doesn't work, then something happened. So they passed the quiz, but not the hands-on part of it. So you can use things like checklist, which is a type of assessment, but there needs to be more explanation in the assessment strategy, saying a checklist on watching the students repair a generator, or more specific, because I don't know enough about electrical wiring to give a more specific example, but it could be as much as connecting. Would anyone else like to give an example of a good assessment strategy, since we're talking about that? Education people? Tell us one of your learning outcomes and an assessment strategy. Kathy?
The nursing program is journal, can explain
Basic care plan. So how do you create that job?
we use a computer.
So the nursing program has their students keep a reflective journal with nursing plans, nursing care plans, and their experiences as they do their clinicals. And then the journal is rated using a rubric. So that's a type of an assessment strategy. Again, I encourage you to look at the Education Division, since they're the most recent on the website, to look at different types of assessment strategies. Because that's probably the key thing about once you decide what students need to be learning in the course, then you have to decide how you're going to find out if they learned it or not. And that's your assessment strategy. I also need to let you know that even though your specific learning outcomes are associated with an ISLO, you're not going to assess all of them. You're going to choose one in the course to assess an ISLO, and that one gets a little star beside it. Okay, so you won't be assessing ISLOs with every assessment that you do, but just choose one from each course. And make sure that by the time you've finished all your course revisions that all the ISLOs have been assessed. Does that make sense? All the courses together, then all the ISLOs have to be assessed one time. The next section is course content. And there you just list what the topics are covered in the course. Method of instruction, you choose. There's some variety there. There's a section there for other if you're going to do something way different than what's already listed there. Required textbook. List the title. It's written in either APA or MLA format. You can't just write the name of the textbook. You have to provide all the information. If there's any reference materials that you want available in the library or otherwise for students, available for students that you put under reference materials. Instructional cost is only if it's an unusual item that requires cost.
For course content, I think it should be clarified that when we write in the course content, it shouldn't be from the textbook. We shouldn't be listing chapters of a textbook if we are using a textbook as a reference.
Thank you, Sylvia, for that comment. A course is not based on a textbook. You decide what students need to learn in the course, and then you select a textbook that best meets those learning outcomes. That's why you might have reference materials in case the textbook doesn't cover everything that you want the students to learn. Thank you, Sylvia, for that distinction. Someone else had a comment to make. They used to do that on the textbook to put or latest edition. Right? The thing is, when you're changing even editions of textbooks, you need to check with the bookstore first to find out how many of the old edition are left. And we use those first because that's the bookstore policy, that we use the old editions first and then move to the new edition. So, but then you don't have to go back and redo your textbook for the course if a new edition comes out. That's what that's for. Maria, have there ever been anything under instructional costs, something that was unusual that...
We have for the ones in science class.
health certificate.
Oh. Okay, so for food fundamentals, they have to have a health certificate, which, what? Okay, which has a fee of $15 to $20. And it's required for the course because they have to have that before they can handle food and serve food. Scuba has a $100 fee to cover licensing and tanks and equipment. All lab courses have a $25 fee, but that's just a standard fee. Yeah. We're looking at costs that are different than the usual things. So people used to start listing things like notebooks and journals and pens and stuff like that. Those are usual. Okay, so it's anything that's out of the ordinary under instructional costs. Yes.
Kindergarten required tests. I understand there's reading evaluation done on the textbooks, reading level.
I don't know what to say. I don't know if anyone actually does that. It's been suggested that people do a reading level check on the textbooks because all of our students are second language learners. It would be helpful. And when you're selecting a textbook, we can't, choose a textbook that's written for, MBA. I mean, we have some books that are written like above 13th grade level, and they're so complicated that even our faculty have a hard time reading them. So we just need to make sure that they're readable and students can understand them. Is the main concern. So, but we don't want to go so low either that they're reading a book that they should have read in middle school or high school either. So.
Well, I'm a little concerned about the reading level thing because in counting we have to start fairly complex at times. And if we're starting to look at reading level, we may end up not finding the books. The current books we're using are already 6-7 years out of date. And that, and students are like, but my concern again is that non-content specialists dictating that we need to look at different books. One of my topics right now, look at that shows that recommended different.
The textbooks are approved by program faculty. The curriculum committee is basically taking your word for it that you've done the checks on the textbook to make sure that it helps students meet the learning outcomes and it's written at a level that most of the students can understand it. Perhaps one way we can help facilitate is to provide training for faculty to learn how to do like 10-minute, 5-minute teaching moments when there's a section of a book that's really difficult. How do you help students deal with that difficult section? Because it may be learning vocabulary that's specific to the discipline and terminology that's specific to the discipline where they wouldn't get it if they were in like the science field, but they're in, this business has kind of its own language, or each discipline has its own language. So maybe we can help faculty by facilitating how to do little teaching moments when the need arises.
Thank you.
Any other questions right now? The evaluation section. We used to kind of leave it blank, but we don't anymore. So curriculum committee, you can help me with this one if I don't get it quite correct. The evaluation section is there to let students know what they have to do it's summative. So if you have a comprehensive final exam, that would be an example of evaluation. If they have to turn in a portfolio at the end of the class, that would be your summative evaluation. Do they have to pass a midterm and a final. Is that what you consider your summative evaluation? So what is the overall final evaluation for that course? That's what goes under evaluation. Did I get that correct, curriculum? People? And then the last section is if your course has a credit by examination. And currently we don't have any courses that have credit by examination. While you're looking at your programs, if you feel that you have a course that might be suitable for this, then you have to develop the exam, test it out, and take it to curriculum committee to be approved before you can put anything in there about credit by examination. We started something but never finished a course which was CA 100. So I might ask you to reconsider that because what I found out recently in the last year is that it doesn't transfer anymore. They consider that most people probably have had computer training probably in high school, so they don't teach introductory computer skills in college anymore. They assume that all the new students have already, maybe no more than I do already. So it's not a course that's transferring right now. So that might be one we think about doing for credit by examination, especially as our high schools get better access to computers and internet. So something to think about there. So this is the format for the course outline. Any questions? Anything I forgot? Okay, so as you're working on them this afternoon, you can ask questions. Okay, so let me go to the course modification. Because there's some sections in here that are also important in developing your course outline. And you're going to be revising, so we're not writing new ones, you're revising. So you have to complete this page as well. So again, it's the course number and title, the division or division, so like, is it health sciences, is it education, agriculture, who's submitting this, who's the primary author and the date. The first major section here is, what are you changing? Did you change student learning outcomes? Did you change the textbook? Did you change the credits of the course? What did you change the course description? What is it that you changed in this course outline and why? The next section says summary of consultation with the division. So you are not writing this outline alone. You need to work with the people in your division to see, let them have input, because this is only one course in the entire program. We talked about alignment earlier this morning, so how does, if you change this course, then does it still fit into the program like everybody in the division thinks it should be fitting into the program? You need to get input on this course. And if the course is taught at another campus, you must consult those faculty who teach that course. Because I know that some courses, like, well, all the gen ed courses are taught at all the campuses. So you have to consult those faculty who teach that course. The education courses are taught at all the campuses. So they had to consult all the education faculty before they could finish writing. Most of you are your faculty are here on this campus. If you're in a certificate program, then they tend to be spread out more across the campuses. So make sure you consult with all those faculty who teach. I'm sure that if you're teaching a course, you'd like to be consulted about the course outline before it's finalized, because you're going to have to teach it, so you'd like to have some input. So this section is very important. And if it's blind when it goes to the curriculum committee, they're going to send it back, or it should be to the IC. He'll send it back and say, who did you talk to about this course outline? So you're not writing them in isolation. Okay? It's a team effort. Maria? Okay, so if you don't know who is teaching that course besides you, then you can ask the IC, and they can help you get connected. Because the ICs meet twice a month. Is that correct, Maria? Once a month.
Right now, twice a month, because of the course outline application.
Okay, so ICs meet together in conference calls twice a month. So they can talk to each other and they can help faculty get connected across the campuses. So this section is important because we need to know that everybody had input that should have had input. Oh, it says within the division and within the campus, so there's two sections there. Okay, so if the course is only taught here, it still has to be within the division, or one place. Okay, then there's a place for the instructional coordinator to sign, and then when just some check-offs for curriculum approval, and not approved, and then what happens. So that's the course modification form. It comes in with each course that's being revised. So you're going to submit the course modification form, the new course outline, and the old course outline, so they can see, the curriculum committee can see everything. Mark? You guys recommend, the curriculum committee recommends, that's just approval to revise the course outline. That's not approval of the course on this form, it's approval to revise the course outline. To revise. But like I said, all the course outlines need to be revised, so right now there's no choice. Okay. The course outlines have to be reviewed at least every 5 years. Okay. They were put on the schedule, but the schedule wasn't kept. So now they're all, again, outdated. So we need to get this process finished as soon as possible. Once it's finished again, then if you feel like you're going to make a change to your program or course and you want to revise the course before the 5 years, then that's when the IC, you can work with the IC to decide if it's really necessary to change the course. Should be based on assessment, okay, before the 5 years. Question?
Yes. Yeah, in my case, for ESS courses, they're Gen Ed courses, but placed under the health division. Do I still send it to health division or something like consultation?
Yes, because it's just good to have a number of eyes looking at your course outline. It helps you see things that you might have forgotten, or maybe to consider things that you might not have considered. So it's good to have your division review the course outline. And then most of your program faculty are part-time people, but they teach every semester, so it would be good to have their input. Yours is probably a little more difficult to find the people at the state campuses because it changes maybe from semester to semester. But Marie and I, because we look at all the schedules, can help you find those that are regular to give input. Other questions? Yes.
Once you finalize your first outline, then another revision after the state conference will come and we change the
Okay. Okay. Hopefully, there's only one primary author on the course, and yes, you should set a deadline for comments and input, because if you don't, you can wait forever. So if you send the outline out, I don't know what you guys consider reasonable, a week and a half, 2 weeks. I wouldn't go much beyond 2 weeks, because after 2 weeks you forget you had to make comments, and then everybody forgets you're working on the course outline. So I wouldn't make it too long. If no one comments by that time, then you just put in the summary that no one commented. I mean, they had their opportunity.
Yeah, but the comments is around after you finalize and you incorporate those revisions again. So can we have a time?
Well, like I said, if you give them a deadline and they comment after the deadline, it's too late, because you gave them a deadline. That's what a deadline is for. If you keep making excuses for exceeding a deadline, then you'll never get it done. Okay?
I have another question.
Okay, Gardner?
Yeah, I think this semester we stumbled into some miscommunication regarding with the reviewing and also modifying course outline. So I think it's critical that this is coordinated well, because some of the courses we offer in other campuses. So I think from the start, this is a good meeting like today, to have a meeting with everyone and making sure that the courses are being delegated, who will be responsible. And sometimes these courses might have history. So like you mentioned, there are some courses that have primary author. So it's very good to have this information communicated to all members of the program, whether at Kobe campus or CTEC or other campuses. So I don't know, I'm just, here's another opportunity to sit down and get these done, because I think it contributes to the progress of the course, the modification of the course also.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe the ICs assigned courses to specific faculty for revision to be primary authors. So faculty should have received an assignment from the IC. Okay, we are videotaping today's session, so we're going to send the videos out to the state campuses so they can hear the same exact information. It won't be different, so they can hear your questions as well. So hopefully that will help make this process easier for everyone, and everyone's on the same page. Does that answer your, does that respond to your suggestion adequately?
Yeah, hopefully it will, because there's a course that I teach, and then there's another instructor also offering the course at Wokrshop campus. And what happened is I got another version, which was the same version that I created, but I think there should be communication between the ICs to ensure that the course are given based on the information that I usually keep up with in the course. So
Yeah.
this was a situation that kind of triggered it. So I think, like you mentioned, there are authors that there's history to the courses. So it should be well coordinated, because I think some of the ICs, they're not very clear on those courses. So it should be a general meeting to have an understanding of all the courses and assign individually who will be working on it. Because obviously, yes, we do need the help, but it should be communicated well before we can start.
Good communication is always important. Also, if, like in your case, Gardner, if you would like to have a conference call with that instructor, please work with the IC or with Greeley or whoever it takes to make that happen. We'll see if we can facilitate those kinds of conversations as well. Okay? So I think that's all for this form. Got one more form to share with you. This is the checklist that goes with the course outlines. And as an author, you can use this. The curriculum committee uses this to look at your course outline to make sure it's doing what we wanted it to do. So it's just a yes, no, and comments form. But if you go through this and you can check everything yes, then it's ready to give your course outline to the IC. Because that's the first person. That the IC is going to use the same checklist to go through the course outline. So it follows the format. The calculation of credit hours is correct. Prerequisites are listed and reasonable. That brings to mind something that I've seen once. It was like a field studies course or the last course in the program. And they listed every single course in the program as a prerequisite. So that's not possible, because that means that one semester you're taking one course, because the others are all prerequisite. Okay, so make sure it's reasonable, make sure students can finish in 2 years if it's an associate program. Okay? So be reasonable with your prerequisites. Don't make it so difficult that students can't finish. Okay, you got your ISLOs listed and this one star that you're going to assess. SLOs are aligned with one or more ISLO. 1 or 2 specific SLOs are marked with an asterisk. That means you're going to be assessed. All specific SLOs are aligned with program learning outcomes. All specific SLOs are aligned with general SLOs, because you have general and then specific. Assessment strategies are aligned with specific SLOs. Remember, I said you have to match your assessment strategy with your learning outcome. If they have to do an oral presentation, if they have to say something, do something orally, then the assessment has to be an oral something. It can't be written if it says oral. Your outcomes, specific outcomes are measurable behavior. Assessment strategies include authentic strategies. This is something we talked about years ago about when we do assessment, that we want students to do activities that are like they're going to do in their real life. They go out and are going to be in the health field, then the assessment strategy should be something that they would experience in a health field. If it's in Micronesian studies, the assessments should be something that they're going to experience in Micronesian studies. If they're a business, then there should be something they do in a business. The business division has taken a giant step and a leap when they designed the F4 assessment strategy, because it gives the students a real life opportunity to develop and test products and try to sell those products. So that's a really good example of authentic assessment. So again, this checklist just follows the sections of the course outline format. And we're not changing the course outline format until for the next 5 years. Okay? We're just not. We can't do that and get all the course outlines revised. The course outline format will not change. If you feel that there's an issue with it, you can make suggestions, but it's not going to change for a while. Okay. Cassiano, you had a question? Okay, well, Maria, can you make note of that on the form? It should say recommended by CAC. Oh, it's not CAC anymore. CAC was Curriculum and Assessment Committee, but the Curriculum Committee said they weren't going to be responsible for assessment because they have enough to do just looking at curriculum. So there's now a separate assessment team. Okay, this is for the reader team, so the reader team can approve the course outline for approval, recommendation by the curriculum committee.
I understand that, but in the procedure for a course to be approved, the language approved is not there. The one that you brought up for course outline procedure.
Because the curriculum committee doesn't do the final approval.
But on the forms like this, the word so maybe because
Maybe you can just put in something like reader team approval. Recommendation by team. They approve course outline to go to curriculum committee or they don't. They aren't recommended. That's for the reader team. Yes, and it says recommendation by the team. Right. It has nothing to do with the earlier process. I mean, it does, but it's because it's part of the process, but it's not final approval of the course outline.
when you bring up the course modification, because the course modification uses the language.
It does, because the
You don't have the authority to approve.
Because the course modification form is approval to revise the course. It's not approval of the course, it's approval to revise the course. Yes. A lot of different levels there. Okay. Other questions? Yes, Deborah.
Is there a place to find the, where you're reading hours for the courses? Do you have the lecture course, the lab course,
Right.
the workshop? Do you still have a page
That gave descriptions.
Where do we find that now? Just Bill.
You want to put it back in the curriculum?
Yeah, we still have an argument on internships and practicums
Okay.
in terms of the number.
Actually, I think there's a policy on practicum.
So
there's a
we
policy.
have that.
Okay, for practicum and internship, there's a policy in the policies on the number of hours that you need for those. We'll put it back in the curriculum handbook. Yeah, you're right, there's a list of about 8 different types of courses, and it said how many hours for each. We'll bring that back. Yes. Maybe I'm the only one who still has it. was when I was chair of the curriculum committee. It's that old. It's that old. Yeah, because that's been a while. It's been a few years, so it might need to be revised, but for now we'll use what we have. Okay, other questions? I only have a little bit more about course outlines, and this goes back to when you're writing your learning outcomes. We talk a lot about using Bloom's taxonomy, and because we want students to do things at different levels of learning. So these are some verbs that you can use to write your learning outcomes. So the lowest level is just knowing something, and the highest level is being able to evaluate. So depending on introductory courses, maybe know, comprehend, and apply, but if you're at the upper end of your program, they should be able to do analysis and evaluation. Okay. And synthesizing. So those are just some examples of verbs that you can use to put in your learning outcomes. I had to look for something up here because I don't remember it being up there. Okay, it's not there. So you don't see the word up there, understand. Because you have to think about how do you assess and know if the student understands. Can anybody assess, understand? The student understands. That's one verb that we don't use when we write learning outcomes because there's no way to assess understanding. Because we're looking at what students' behaviors are. Okay? So this is just an example. I found this online. Just looked under images of Bloom's taxonomy. There's many different versions of this, so this is just one version. And I'm just going to share this. I don't know if you think it's important or not, but this is another version of Bloom's taxonomy, but it has questions that you can ask at each of the different levels. So when you're actually teaching, if you don't know what kind of questions to ask to get students to do analysis or synthesis or evaluation, this diagram has questions on it. So if they're creating or evaluating, what would happen if? What is your opinion of? Those are evaluation questions. So those are the kinds of questions you should be asking students if you want them to be able to evaluate. I also found this just under images of Bloom's taxonomy when I Googled it. So I just thought it was interesting. I'd never seen one where they actually put down questions. So I thought it was just useful. It's almost lunchtime, and I have questions. Does anybody have questions? Oh, you're waiting for the 2 more questions. Okay. I have 2 more questions for you before lunch. And then after we eat lunch, I'd like for you to sit and actually work on a course outline. It's okay if your program wants to work on one course outline and do one really well, and then you can divide and conquer. Or if you want to work on one that you've been assigned. Okay? So my next gift is for this bag. Are you ready? Remember to raise your hand if you know the answer. Ben.
I think it's the spare tire.
It's the spare tire. It's the spare tire. Okay, I have one more question. This time I have a laptop bag. question. I used to use these as little breaks in my class when we were shifting from one. It was in the PE methods when we shifted from the activity back to the lecture, and this was our break. I put them up and wait for students to answer them. Okay, here we go.
You already got one.
Phyllis? Huh? Incorrectly. Incorrectly. Okay, I actually have one more, but I don't have a prize. You want to see one more? Okay. Here's the last one, because I gave away 2 prizes for not answering the question, yes. D, how do you know? Okay, it's D, he's really quick. Because those are the first letters of all the months in order. January, February, March, April, May, June.